All right, welcome to class one of FOP. Today we're going to finish off the last couple of slides on the GitHub lesson, and then we're going to go into, I believe it's how the internet works and begin doing some HTML and CSS. If we have time, we might dabble into adding JavaScript into it, but more than likely, I'd like to take some time on the CSS, let you guys really dabble with that. I don't know if any of you guys have much experience with HTML and CSS besides the pre-work, but it'll be good to get a couple reps in. We'll do some solo work or group work and kind of just mess around with it, see what you can create from there. But let me go ahead and pull up the lesson. Okay. Share screen. All right, so last night we were finishing off the GitHub lesson. Are you guys able to see my screen?
Yes.
Awesome. So we kind of ended off somewhere around here on the student practice. We messed around a little bit with the GitHub, with the that Git pair assignment. If you guys would like more on this, before we continue, let me know if you guys want to try this out. Anyone want to walk through it on their computer? We can watch you guys. All right, perfect. So next, talking a little bit more about branches. So a cool Git feature is that it allows you to branch off of your main code base, right? And you try something out. So another visual representation like we saw yesterday. Here on the blue, we see the main branch, or in another word, master. And this is gonna hold the main version of what your work is looking like. And whenever you want to add a new feature, create an update, you want to debug something wrong with your code, it's always good practice to create a separate branch, which essentially is just a clone of where your master branch is, where you can work on it effectively. And in case you mess something up, it doesn't affect your main work. And then once you complete the task at hand, you're able to merge it back onto your main branch, therefore, successfully updating or adding any new features to your program without the possibility of you messing everything up and starting from scratch.
So a question about the branching stuff. I'm trying to understand the real world value of this. Like I understand like making edits and then merging them back to main, but in like bigger apps, like let's say I don't know, let's say you have a website and on Halloween your site changes for the user, it's like all Halloween themed. Would people use branches for stuff like that where you actually have like a Halloween version of your website where everything has like different aesthetics, and then you just kind of just like push that branch to be the main branch? Or is this specifically just for people that are, working on the project? Hope I'm asking this correctly.
Yeah, you're on the right track. So a prime example was, I did a project for myself, a music discovery app, the first time, and the website went live. It was good to go for people to see, whoever was interviewing me, anyone that was interested in my work, they were able to go to this website and check it out. But the project itself wasn't complete. There was a couple bugs on the project where it wasn't running smoothly, or sometimes something didn't do what it should do. But at this point, my project was live, right? And whenever it goes live, it's you kind of you link your GitHub to it, and it was using my GitHub repository for uh everything that it was using for the website. Now, if I wanted to make some kind of updates, it would have been very difficult for me to work straight out of my main branch, because there ran the possibility that maybe I broke something, I deleted a feature or something in the code that was necessary for my website to work effectively. And then while working on it, I could have messed it up. So, branches come into play because it allowed me to, I went offline for a bit, created a separate branch for my main repository that my website uses. I created whatever, feature I wanted to add or fix any kind of issue. And then I merged it back into my main branch and was able to bring it back up to, a live server without the possibility of me breaking it in the middle of it. And let's say whenever I brought my website down and I was working on it, if I did mess it up on the copy that was in my side branch, well, it wouldn't have affected my main project because I could just scrap that side branch and still have my main branch to work off of because that's where my main program was lying in.
Okay,
Right. Yeah. So something very similar. For example, right, you have a Halloween theme, a Halloween event. You want to have some features on your website. You want to make an update. You would bring it down, create that side branch, work on what you got to do, update your main branch, and then bring the main branch back up live. So yeah. So you're there. Hold on, let me turn on my. All right. So moving on. Instructor example, create new branch. We already went through that. Essentially, you would get branch and then whatever the branch you're trying to make, right? Then you can use the get checkout method to be able to switch between different branches. And then after you're ready to push up, you would have to connect it upstream to ensure that your GitHub repo, the remote side was talking to what you have locally. So we covered that yesterday. Check out existing branches, right? So the get checkout method is what you use to switch between branches to an already existing one. Combine branches. So the same way that we were able to merge on the GitHub repo, you can do that from your local terminal as well on your local machine. You would use the git merge branch. Now this is very important, right? So whenever you merge a branch onto your main branch from your local machine, you want to ensure that you're on the branch you wanna merge into, right? So I believe this is final here. For the above to work, make sure you are on the branch you want to add to, and in your terminal run git merge and then the name of the branch. For example, let's say I have a side branch that has like a new feature, like I wanted to add a gallery page to my main business website to demonstrate my work. I want to switch to my main branch, and then I would do git merge to the branch I want to bring into it. Let's say it's called like the gallery branch. So it would be git merge gallery branch, and then that would move all the code from the gallery branch into my main branch. So you're able to do that from your terminal as well. Sometimes depending on the type of code you have, it might give you conflicts. So it's safer to do it through GitHub. I encountered that a lot when I was working on the our video game. The files weren't compatible, and there was a lot of issues with different versions of our branches not matching up, or it was too far out, conflicting files. So it's easier to see it on your GitHub. Building a cool GitHub README. All right, so as if you guys have had a GitHub already for a while, you encounter a page very similar to what you see here on the image. This is gonna be essentially like your profile, right? So if you guys remember the old times of MySpace, I know Len definitely does. Old dude, but he was there during the MySpace ages. If you guys were around that time, you guys remember being able to go to your profile and then editing the layout and the background and the pictures and adding a music player so whenever people visited it, it starts playing. It's something similar to that, right? It demonstrates who you are and what you're about, what you're capable of. And whenever you guys begin applying to different jobs, different corporations and companies, a lot of these applications are going to ask you for your GitHub link, as well as having your GitHub on your LinkedIn, so people and recruiters are able to, check out your GitHub. Your GitHub is going to be, not always, but it's going to be something that you're able to demonstrate what you can do. So it's very important to try to make it presentable, or kind of give the recruiter a gist of what you can do, what you're about, your skill set, and make it presentable. I personally never really care for it. You guys can or not. He had more really emphasized on it. out of all my interviews I did and all the people I applied, I probably had uh maybe like a quarter to a third of them ask for my GitHub link. But they don't always do it from what I've been told. Not all of them have the time to go through it. On top of that, not many people, especially if they have like hundreds or 200 applicants, they want to go through everyone's GitHub and go through their files. So the main thing they really care about is how active you are on GitHub and if you have a GitHub account with some kind of work. But on the README, you should find a couple links of how to pizzazz your GitHub profile. So whenever you guys have time on your own, try go through it and add some stuff. As you guys progress through the immersive program, you start developing the skills that you see down here, having stuff like React, Django, Postgres, the different types of languages you work with, and then you can start adding these little things there as skill sets. Here's another version of a GitHub example. Guillermo really liked this one. He just went through and searched different people. Another example of what you can have, you see here, this guy has a record of how many times he used different things here. Pictures, a small description of yourself. Another one here too by Stanley. Talks about some quick facts about himself. Once again, the tool that he uses and whatnot. He included his girlfriend. This is Guillermo's girlfriend on this slide, and her profile on GitHub. She linked her LinkedIn as well. Talked a little bit about herself. To kind of just give to the interviewer, that recruiter, some insight on your personal life. But very quick, very straight to the point. If you guys want to, go right ahead whenever you guys get some time. But nothing too much that we're gonna spend time on. The colored squares. So if you guys have experience working with GitHub yet, you might have noticed something very similar to you see here, the contributions. Yours might be green. I believe it's green by default. You can change the color. But essentially what these color squares say is how active you are with GitHub, right? If you guys are constantly pushing, you're working in group projects, you're pulling, you're adding stuff up here onto your GitHub, it's going to show how active you are on your GitHub profile. And this is typically what people look at the most, besides looking at the projects you have. They want to see how active you are. And depending on the days and months, you have squares light up, and that kind of gives the recruiter some insight on if you're actually keeping up with your coding. Are you coding on your own time? Are you building personal projects? Are you contributing to other people's work? So if you guys are all about it, you have that free time, by all means, try to, work up your squares. This is I believe this is a Guillermo's screenshot. His story was that he felt at the time that when he was trying to get his job that his GitHub contributions were going to play a big part. And he had a streak, as you see here on top right, a streak of 400 days of how many days consecutively he had contributed to his GitHub profile, and they were thoroughly very impressed with the work he had, and he believes that that was a part of the reason why he was selected for the job that he had received from it. So I don't have that experience. That's Guillermo's experience. I just wanted to share that with you guys. I'll let you know that for him it worked. They were very impressed with his contributions, and it played a huge factor on him getting selected for the role that he did, especially when you guys are coming from a boot camp. If you don't have a degree, showing them that you can do the work and you do the work goes a long way. Git pair student practice. We already went through that. You guys try it out. Pretty straightforward, straight to the point. We only had a couple of slides left before we had the yesterday, but I didn't want to take up your time. But we'll move on. That was initially yesterday's lesson, as well with lesson 2 was supposed to be yesterday, but I wanted to take a little bit more time on GitHub and ensure you guys understood it. But today we're going to go into lesson 2. All right, so lesson 2, how the internet works in HTML. So the overall lecture for how the internet works is going to be very straightforward. It's not gonna be in depth. You're not gonna know how everything behind your computer works and whatnot, but it's gonna be just to give you enough insight, especially if you don't have a technical background of what's happening behind the screen. All right, so what is the internet? Who wants to take a crack at this?
Uh, the internet is basically a communal space for nodes to communicate with each other. So the internet isn't like a tangible thing. It's more of like a collaborative thing. And nodes are computers or other types of devices that communicate on the network. And basically, whenever you are surfing the web, what you're really doing is asking permission to like other nodes for certain information. So, hey, I would really like to see the web page google.com and what is contained on that web page. And then the server says, okay, I will allow you to connect. I will allow you to see what's going on. Or 404 error can't be found, or whatever the case may be. Um, so it's basically just a lot of communication that, you know, started really small that ended up blowing up into something that is, online 24/7. So you can't technically flip a switch and turn off the internet unless you were to like turn off every computer in the world all at once.
Sure. Yeah. You're pretty spot on. I was looking for more like to its root. But yeah, it is a bunch of computers. But to its bare bones, it is a bunch of wires, right? Uh, you see here a small little description or diagram on the bottom right of how all these wires are connected together. It's just a bunch of wires connected to a bunch of computers somewhere, probably in China, uh, where it's cheap, and it's just wires connected to other wires connected to computers, bringing you to your own computer, right? So at its bare foundation, it's just a bunch of wires and computers. A much better thorough explanation is what you just gave. Thank you. But yeah, bunch of wires, right? It's not just like things just flying in space for no reason. If that's what you thought the internet was. It's just a bunch of wires. Um, yep. The browser, what does it do? What is a browser?
It's a GUI for surfing the web.
Perfect. It is GUI, right? It is a graphical user interface to allow you to search the web, right? The web. It's most basic explanation. It is a graphical user interface. It allows you, for us normal people that don't know what we're doing, to reach Google, reach Facebook, uh, by ways of IP addresses, right? But it is a graphical user interface. The browser makes requests. All right, so very similar to how you just explained. We start off from our client, which is your computer. You open up the browser, it brings it to this nice little user interface with graphical images that's appealing to the eye and easy to see. And then we make requests that are sent to a computer somewhere. That computer is going to receive your request. It's going to ensure that you have access to the information that you're requesting for. It's going to approve it, and then it's going to send you a response for whatever you're requesting for. In a nutshell, right? Pretty much what I just said. From your client computer yourself, you open up your browser, you go to the search engine, and you do HTTP, HTTPS, whatever, and you look for Facebook. And it's going to grab your information and send it in a form of what we call an HTTP request, all the way to someone's computer in someone's attic or in someone's building, uh, and to their web server. It's going to take the request. Um, if it's something that requires encryption, it's probably going to ask for like your credentials. It's going to take whatever you put in. It's going to ensure that you're validated. It's going to take what you asked for. It's going to send it all the way back to you. gonna package it up, nice little box, all the way back to your browser, so you can see your cat beans on your screen. Right? Very straight, simple. Just two computers talking to each other via wires. What does a server do?
It serves information.
It serves information, right, in the form of what you kind of see here, in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. All right, pretty much like 90% of the web pages you have or more are built off of what you see here. What's HTML?
Hypertext markup language.
Yeah, I mean that's what it stands for. But what is it? What exactly is it?
It's essentially just the plain text that represents a web page.
Can you have HTML without CSS
Yes.
in JavaScript? Yeah, right. It's the skeleton of your web pages, right? So all these web pages are built off of HTML. It is what you see, all the text, all the lists, the paragraphs, the titles. That is all HTML. It's pretty much the skeleton of the web page. What is CSS?
Styling.
Styling, cascading style sheets. And what does that do for you?
Styles your text and other things on your web page, like banners or fonts, images, stuff like that, positioning of things.
Yeah, it takes care of the appearance of your HTML, right? It allows you to, put things in like nice little boxes, change the fonts colors, add images, uh, borders. What else? It's essentially the outside appearance of what your HTML is. It just makes it pretty, and readable for you, right? What about JavaScript?
It lets you kind of have the functionality as in like you can click on it and it actually does something rather than just being like an image or whatever.
Exactly, right? It gives functionality to your web page, right? So it allows you to, HTML, you're gonna create a button. The CSS is gonna make the button look cool, but the JavaScript is what's gonna make it actually do something, right? When you click that button, that JavaScript is gonna, unclick, it's gonna have a reaction, it's gonna send you to a different web page, it's going to, add some functionality to whatever your website has. All right, it's what kind of makes it dynamic. The golden rule, separation of concerns, right? So when it comes to building web applications, you want to ensure that we separate the jobs and responsibilities of the different stuff that you're working with, right? You don't want to have like your entire HTML to have inline styling, as well as your JavaScript within it, because it becomes, not only does it become very complex and difficult to read, it becomes an issue to debug, right? What happens if we didn't separate, all these roles and responsibilities and concerns into different selections, and we're trying to, change something? Well, now we have to filter through all this HTML, CSS, and JavaScript to find what we're looking for, and you run the risk of breaking something, right? If I wanted to change the color of the button here where it says view only, where would I go?
Could you ask that question one more time, or was that like a,
Yeah, if I wanted to change the color and the shape of this button here, where it says view only, where would I go?
you could right click it, inspect the element, and then,
Alright, okay, you gave
I
me
think the style, right?
of
The
course, yeah,
CSS.
You
you
go
to the style
CSS.
CSS. I like it. Thank you for the enthusiasm. But not just there yet. You would go to the style.css, right? You don't need to go to HTML or the JavaScript where you actually take care of the functionality. If you want to change into the appearance, you know that you go straight to the style.css because that's where all the styling of your web page is located at. Now, if I click this button, if it doesn't do what I want it to do, let's say it's supposed to actually, be view or edit or whatever, where would I go for that?
JavaScript.
JavaScript. And if I want to change the text up here where it says less than 2,
Is that the HTML?
HTML.
HTML. All right. Pretty straightforward. Sometimes you might encounter some people that use some inline styling, and that's okay. You don't typically want to do that. You like to have a separation of concerns, but it's not like it's a bad thing. You don't want to overuse it, typically you want to have everything located in its own location. Was that you, Brandon, talking about the inspect?
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't know who taught you that, but yeah, you're able to go to something on your computer, right click it and go to inspect. You're actually able to see what this web page is built off of, right? Here we see the HTML page, the bodies, it has different things like scripts, divs. Don't worry too much about the IDs in class right now. But for example, if we wanted to come, if we hover over, you can even see what it's going over. Let's see if we can find the view right here. It's right here. The view only. You see here, this is the HTML for it, where it says view only. The styling, has a style which we'll get to in a bit, but this is where that view only is at. And it should have the class is linked to United States JavaScript here. But yeah, this is what Brandon was talking about when he going to inspect, which we'll cover that later. HTML syntax. All right, so what's syntax?
it's like the, it's like learning the English language, how is it spoken? But in this
Yeah.
case, it would be, how is it written?
Yeah, exactly. Like when talking or writing specifically, like, if you're saying like man, I suck at English. If you're trying to say, Sam P went to the store and he went to his house, how would you write that? Do you have to put a comma before the end? The spelling and grammatical rules that go into it, but for programming. The syntax is how you essentially write in that programming language. And every single programming language you have is going to have differences. HTML is very unique. You're going to see here that we have, it's going to be its core values of how it's typically written. But every piece of content within this file must be wrapped in tags, right? The tag here is going to be the P at the start and the P at the end. All right, it has a opening tag and a closing tag, right? What tag do you think this is?
Paragraph.
The paragraph, right? So if we wanted to create a paragraph, you have an open and close tab. A closing tag typically has the / at the on it, whereas the opening tag does not. And then anything that you actually want to have within this paragraph location, you would put it between both of these tags, right? So this is telling me that this is a paragraph with the contents of the hello world, right? Don't pay too much attention to the class yet. You're essentially able to give priorities or nicknames to your tags, and then you're able to reference specific tags off of the class that you have or the ID that you may have. But we'll talk more about that later. But yeah, so the basic HTML syntax is opening and close tags with the contents of that that piece of content, that whatever you're working on, the tag that you want to use is within it. Sorry, I stuttered a lot. Every tag has a reason why you would use it or a semantic meaning, right? So what that means is, you guys know what a div is yet? Anyone know what a div? No? Alright, no, I
Uh,
won't. I
yeah,
won't use that. What's up?
it's like it's not a paragraph, it's not like a header setting, so it doesn't format your text. I'm trying to remember, it's been a while since I've done HTML. I think it gives you a new line for each like random bit of text you throw in.
It's like
And
a
the
group of items or like a box to hold content of stuff. It's nothing very specific. It's very generic. But for example, if I wanted to use, a title will require a header tag, whereas something that isn't a title, like a paragraph, like 4 or 5 sentences, you want to use the p tag because it is a paragraph, right? So it has very semantic meanings, very specific to what the context of your tag is supposed to be. Instructor HTML example. All right, let's open it up. Man, I should have had this ready. So go ahead, go into your FOP curriculum.
Yeah, it's like a high school kid on the weekend would go to the parking garage. I ended up just leaving them alone because
for real, yeah.
I'd rather them just be there skateboarding
For real.
than somewhere
Someone's
else.
got a hot mic.
Kind of keep an eye on
You guys
them. And I
good?
should have talked to them. Yo, dude,
Yeah,
I don't give a fuck if you guys skateboard, but don't fuck shit up.
yeah, that's me.
All right,
But I want to do that here just 'cause this
My
this
boy
one
is
just
shredding.
Yeah, for real,
Right.
yeah.
I'm gonna have to edit that out. All right, so yeah, please try to keep it family friendly when you guys do speak. I understand here and there, it's all right, but
I don't think different kind of.
He unmuted
Yo,
himself
fucking
again.
205 security, the guy.
how are you gonna unmute yourself? Zeus, brother, if you're gonna have, people talking, please have yourself muted. I appreciate it. I am recording. All right, so moving on. Where am I? CD.
Dude, for real, man.
Yeah, we're playing do it.
Hey, Zeus, you there,
That's the
man?
thing. Like most of the time, it's pretty fucking chill. That's why.
We're still recording. Where do I have? Updates. All right, so if you guys go into your FOP file, it should be on lesson 2. We're gonna go to states.html. So we're gonna walk through this together. You guys are more than welcome to code along. Stop me at any point if you guys have any questions or if I'm going too fast or I just did not explain something effectively. And we can stop and talk about it. All right, so here we see states.html. We have a file with a bunch of words. We're gonna go ahead and work through it together. So first and foremost, we have on line 1. Hope everyone's excited to be here. This is the second ever foundation program. Don't worry too much about it. But looking at this, what would you say this would be? Actually, before we even continue, I want you guys to do something. Do me a favor. On the far left, you're going to go to your extensions. Open up extensions, and I need you guys to download an extension. It's going to be Live Server. So get Live Server, download it, and enable it. Cody, were you able to go to the install fest?
I started it and then naturally, my computer didn't have enough memory, so I was clearing that out. And tomorrow is my official start date at Stillbridge, so I'll actually be able to work it all day. So hopefully it'll be done tomorrow. I got about
Okay.
halfway through.
That's fine.
And then had that. So
hopefully you're able to use Live Server. You should be.
yeah,
fine.
I see it pulled up. There's 4 of them. Does it matter which one we pick?
Typically just get the one that has the most downloads and highest rating. The
Okay.
first one.
It's like, this is probably like one of the best extensions, to be honest. Like some of them are mandatory, but this one is like one of those that it's not mandatory, but it's like really amazing.
It's amazing for developers, man. It's gonna allow you to see your work in real time. So once you have LiveShare, I want you to right click your file and put open with LiveShare. And hopefully you guys are using what you call it, Google Chrome. Some web browsers might give you some issues. If you're a weirdo, you're probably using Safari. But we're gonna use LiveShare to allow us to watch in real time what's happening with our code. All right, so once you guys have LiveShare opened up, it should open up a browser. Go ahead and put it to the right. Hopefully you guys don't have a small screen or have two screens, hopefully. And then on the left, just have your HTML document open. Now, before we get into any code, I want to show you guys something pretty cool. So you're gonna go to your top line on line 1 and just bring everything down a line or two. Afterwards, you're going to use Shift exclamation mark. You're going to see these two options. All right, you're going to press Tab, which will autocomplete the first exclamation mark. And what it's going to do is going to give you a boilerplate template for your HTML document. Pretty cool, right? And this boilerplate gives you everything that you need to begin editing an HTML file, so you don't have to remember it. We'll walk through what this boilerplate is doing, just so you guys have an idea, right? Essentially, at the top line, you have this tag that says doc type, and then the type of document gives it HTML. This is pretty standard amongst the industry. Most websites these days require it for it's pretty much telling the computer, hey, this is the type of document that we're working with. So all we're doing is just setting it to HTML. So it's tracking what type of file we're working with. It's going to be an HTML file. After that, the next tag you see is HTML language. We're setting the language to English. And then the next part is going to be your header or your head. This is going to have all the important information, which is known as metadata. It's pretty much like the settings of your web page. You're setting the character set, the viewport height and width of your website with the scale that it's going by. And then it's also going to have a tag like title that's going to allow you to, edit what is going to show up here. Maybe this one won't do it for me, but it's supposed to allow you to edit this states HTML. No, it did not. Well, maybe it's my browser. But typically right here, wherever it says title, it will be represented on your tab, right? And you're able to change your title and it will change it on your tab as well. That's pretty much what it displays for you. Yes, Cody.
So I was able to download Live Server. I got it open and it looks sweet. How did you get that boilerplate open again real quick? Sorry, I just missed that.
Yeah, so you're gonna go to the very top of your file, just bring everything down a line or two. After you do that, you're gonna type in exclamation mark, and it's gonna pop up these two tabs. One's gonna be one exclamation mark, and the second one's probably have like three. Just press tab, and it'll autocomplete with the very first option, and it'll give you that boilerplate. All right, so everything good, Cody? All right, awesome. Yes, Brandon?
Also, so just for, like, if anybody is, trying to like Google something, tabbing, that's called Emmet. So if like you're looking for Emmet shorthands in VS Code, it'll explain what it does as well, just for future reference.
That's awesome. Thanks, Brandon, for that advice. I didn't know that myself.
So I'm trying to follow along and I downloaded Live Server. I right click on the HTML, open with Live Server, and nothing's happening.
Go ahead and share your screen real quick. Nice background.
Guts.
So right click.
Are you right clicking your file?
Yeah, so I'm right click.
Go
Am I
to
get-
extensions. And then on the live server one, you see that little yeah, the settings manage. Mm,
Probably extension settings.
yeah. So specify custom browser settings for live server. You said you have no, press that, see if we can change it to a specific browser. Let's try that out, hopefully as well. Is there a safe setting?
Mm,
No,
Backup and sync settings.
sure.
I think it saves it automatically. I don't think you have to do anything.
Let's try that out.
So then-
Right click on the actual file, like, right there where you're hovering over.
Just right here.
Yeah, open with live server. Did it open up?
No, nothing.
It says it is though. In the bottom right, your port 5500 is open. Yeah, click on that. So it's gonna close it when you click on it. And then, press it again. And the, click open in browser. Nope, open in browser above.
I can't, you guys are, hold on. There we go. Okay. Then
So,
is this what I should be seeing?
no. But if you click on lesson 2. And then click on states. So this is what you should be seeing. So for some reason it opened up the root directory.
Yeah, not the actual file. Okay.
I think you're right. You might have right clicked the incorrect spot. Just
Oh,
right
that
click
is
the
true, yeah.
actual states.html inside of VS Code.
So clicking on here instead.
Yeah. Yeah, right click on that exact part that you were just on, yeah. That, yeah. Then you might be able to go back to that page you were just at, just alt
You
tab
know
it.
what? It actually might not be working because it does need a body tag. Go ahead and do what Roger asked, put the boilerplate in first and then try to open it. That could be the other issue. Well, wait, hold on, you put the boilerplate in first.
Hold on, I lost that. There it is. Open it live server.
There's definitely something wrong with your settings on where it's opening from.
Okay. Do you wanna, I'm taking up too much time. We can just take care of that after class.
Yeah, we can definitely do it after class. So far, as long as you can go there like you just did right now, it should be fine.
Yeah,
Just so we can work on it.
appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for everybody else that contributed. Let's go back to this. Share screen. All right, so back to what we were discussing. Yeah, so if you guys encounter some issues like that, simple research also really helps. One of the great things about us is that, at least for some of us, we made it to sergeant, staff sergeant, or even higher, or if you're an officer, one of the perks of making it so far in the military, if you guys haven't noticed, is that the higher you go, when you go through these leadership schools, a lot of the stuff that we do is all searching through field manuals. You guys realize that? It's not about knowing, because there's always so much information to know, but they really teach us how to research, which is pretty cool. And honestly, comes in handy when it comes to software engineering, because you're not gonna know everything. Just so much information out there, and it's constantly evolving and ever changing that you're never gonna know everything. No one does. But as long as you know how to find the answer, that's the best trade that you can have to make you successful in this. Stuff like Stack Overflow, even something as simple as YouTube. There's so many good resources out there that can help you solve this issue. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. But back to the subject at hand. So after you guys complete your boilerplate, what I want you guys to do is go ahead and just grab everything and then move it between your body tags. So after head, you're gonna have the body tag. That's where the main meat and potatoes of your program is going to lie. So just move everything over to your body tag. Right. So once you have that, now we can actually kind of begin working with our HTML file. So we see here some text. What would you say this is? If you had to give it a tag.
H3.
It's not exactly a header. Maybe not the best example. Maybe we should this README should have a header to get started off from there. Actually, let me write it down in my notes.
Paragraph.
A paragraph, yeah. Let's see. Okay, sorry. As we go through these programs, always find ways to better improve it. So I just want to take notes here and there. But yeah, we can go ahead and use a paragraph tag. And then let's see, move everything within here.
I didn't know you could click and drag.
Alt and then arrows. So whenever you highlight something, you can press the Alt button and then press the up and down arrows, and you can move everything that you've highlighted all together.
So nice.
So that goes ahead and puts everything in a paragraph. There we go. We've refreshed the page. It should have done it automatically. I don't know why it didn't. We see here that it put that entire little paragraph into our p tags, and it's separated from the rest of our text. All right. Whose first time is it working with HTML? Really? Oh, you're gonna love it. I love this stuff, man. I live for it. Just like seeing stuff work on my computer. Okay. So that puts everything in a paragraph tag. And now our computer knows that everything in here is a paragraph in itself. Now we see here a list of states: Chicago, Phoenix, Detroit, etc. What would you say this would be? Not even talking in the sense of tags, but what does this look like?
A list.
A list, right?
List.
So it looks like a list. And luckily we have a tag for that, and it's going to be our li tag. And everything within here is going to be a list. Now, there's going to be two forms of lists that you're able to use. We have unordered lists and we have ordered lists, right? So you're able to use those to your advantage depending on what you're going to use. But everything within the list, oh my bad, I did this wrong. Everything in the list is going to have the li tag for list items. But before that, you have to wrap the overall list on either it's going to be ordered or unordered. We can say ordered list, and then we can add the list tag for every individual item, and we can just drag it in there. And you see here on my right screen, it automatically updated it. It shifted it a little bit to the right, and it gave it its first item because it's in an OL, which is ordered list. It's going to start numbering it for you. So go ahead and repeat that for everything else. And let's order our list. My family just got home, so if you hear some screaming. It's my kid. I wish there was an easier way of doing this.
If you hold option and just click before each item, you can type on multiple lines at once to type all the LIs.
You said option.
Yeah, so yeah, now you can just type LI. And then you just have to do the same thing for the opposite side. Or drag, I guess, now that I know that.
Freaking sweet, dude.
Can you say that again? That was actually like a really good tip.
So whenever you want to, like, if you're gonna do it the manual way, like what we're doing now, you just wanna hold Alt and then click wherever you wanna type the same exact thing. And you're able to do so. You can also use emit abbreviations, so like you could say ordered list with 7 list elements and then, you know, paste the paragraph and then it'll also put in your list items for you.
Yeah, so there you got it. We have our list formed up, numbered and ordered. Let's see if it changes when we put UL for unordered instead of order list. We see here that the list went from being numerical to nothing but bullet points. So that's the difference between ordered and unordered lists. And then what would you say the next one is?
Paragraph.
Yeah, probably paragraph, right? Pretty straightforward. These are just one of the most basic ones that you're gonna see. Now, I heard a header earlier, so we're gonna go ahead and do a header. So headers go by different numbers. You see here, as soon as I type H, we see H1 through H6. What is the difference in numbers?
The higher the number, the smaller the heading will be.
Correct, right? So the higher the number, the smaller the header will be. Typically, you only want to have one H1, which is going to be like your main title, and then everything that comes after it typically, increases numbers to ensure that we make it smaller, so it doesn't, you don't have a bunch of H1s everywhere. But we're gonna make an H1 header, and then we're going to say states, right? And we're gonna see it populate on the right side. That's gonna be our H1 header, nice and big. Let's add a header to our list where it's gonna be state list. What header would we want to use with this?
My
H-
favorite states or my favorite cities.
That's so funny. This is supposed to be states, but it's cities. My favorite cities. But what H would you use for header?
Like an H3.
H3, let's say H4. They're actually pretty big still. So we'll use H4. And we see here the my favorite cities, it is significantly smaller than our H1. And you want to make sure that you use the big ones sparingly. You don't want to overwhelm your viewers or your customers, but depending on what the context of your HTML is, you will use different headers for it. But here we see the states and the cities headers significantly different. All right, pretty cool. All right, pretty straightforward. Any questions about what we just did for the small little instructor of HTML example? we see here on my unordered list, I opened up the unordered list tag, and then afterwards, everything that was within it, uh, it's shifted to the right. So as you start nesting into your different tags, it's always just good practice to, ensure you can read what's within what. Because if you start having everything like this, it'll still work, right? But if I had to come down here and start looking through all your work and see which div belonged to what and what was inside what div and where is all my paragraphs and titles, it can get very complex. So a good practice is just ensure you kind of separate the levels of where things are at, so it makes it cleaner and more readable.
There's another good extension called Prettier, which you can set custom preferences for how you format your file. And it'll essentially, every time you save, it'll reformat the file and kind of nest things for you.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think I have it actually. Yeah, Prettier code formatter. In case you guys want to see what it looks like. Yeah. Any questions? Awesome. It's 6:31. Let's take a 10-minute break. That went by a lot quicker than I expected. Let's come back at 6:41.
Yes.
All right, can you guys see my screen? Thumbs up, nods. All right, sweet. So that covered the instructor portion of the HTML assignment. We're gonna go ahead and move forward. Just a few tags. Honestly, we should probably switch the order that. Hold on, give me a second. I gotta write this down in my notes. Switch order of slides. We should have gone this slide first. All right, so a few tags. From the top, you have your article tag. So as mentioned before, depending on what you're using, there's specific tags you kind of want to use. They have like some means behind it in the article. Typically it's going to be like a link to another page that has the article you're looking for. It's not going to be like the whole article there present. It's probably going to be like maybe a picture of like the title, whatever the article it is, and then like some, whatever picture that's pinned there. That's where you want to use your article tag. Your anchor tag. This is a very important one, right? So this can be for, who can guess what it is? For links. Oh, never mind. It says there. It's gonna be for like your hyperlinks, right? So if you're looking at here and I were to clicking on the how the internet works in HTML sentence here, it should have an anchor tag. I wonder if we can check it out here. I can't inspect it, whatever. But essentially, if you were to look at the HTML, it's wrapped around an anchor tag. And inside this anchor tag, you're able to give it an href, which is essentially the link of where you want your web page to go upon clicking it. And that's the whole purpose for your anchor tags, right? It's for all your links. It anchors whatever context you have within that tag to a different location, right? And it should essentially shift you there, right? For example, if we wanted to do for my favorite cities, we would wrap it around the A, our anchor tag, and then you would close it off with a closing tag. It's not connected just yet, but I guess it's not going to work until I do it. Within this anchor tag, what you're going to do is you're going to add href, which is going to give it a form of reference for it to go somewhere. We're going to go ahead and do https google.com, and we see here our my favorite cities header is now in the form of a link. And whenever we click this link, it will send us to the location that was set within the href part of our anchor tag, right? Pretty cool. This is very easy to mess up, especially if you mistype the link. It can give you a lot of pain. But that's essentially how you set up a hyperlink. All right, so continuing on. The next part is going to be your paragraph for large pieces of text. You just saw that as an example. Span, just another version of it, short pieces of text. Maybe it would have been better if we use span instead of paragraph for that one sentence or two that we use. But that's where the span is going to come into play. The next one is going to be your list. We have the OL for ordered list, which will give you a list starting from 1 moving forward. Unordered list will be for anything that doesn't need to be numbered. For example, if I were to put, the list of students in FOP, I wouldn't need to really number you guys, but I could just have you guys all in unordered list. And then the LI is going to be pretty much like the subtag that you use within the order list or the unordered list that you would wrap around every individual item within your list, right? Header tags, you can see your H1 here. H after is pretty much like supposed to be like 2, right? So H1, H2, etc. All the way to H6. Depending on the context of your text, you want to use one or the other. You typically want to have one H1 tag. Everything else after that should be H2 or more. But that could be for all your headers. Next is going to be the div. The div is going to be one that you guys are going to use very often. And here you see a small description, a containing element. The best way I like to describe a div is like a box, right? It's like boxes upon boxes. Typically, you want to put other content within this div, and it's going to allow you to shift big pieces of items left, right, up, down. You're going to realize that all HTML is a bunch of divs inside of divs inside of other divs, right? Probably the hardest thing you'll ever do with HTML is trying to center a div, which we'll get to later on. All right. Next is going to be, actually, let's get some example of divs so you guys can actually see it. See it real world. So back to our states. So you won't actually really see a difference, but example, if I wanted to have everything within my list in its own location, so what would you say has to be inside the div? If we're looking at my list, should my favorite cities be inside my list? I'm sorry, inside my div or not?
No,
Why not?
because just like you mentioned earlier, where you want everything to be kind of like compartmentalized, like you want your HTML together, you want your whatever together. You also want to have your heading separate from the rest of your items. Cause you could, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can or you can't, right? I guess it would depend on the context of your web page, how much stuff you have here. If you're just using this simple web page, you would have it gets very complex because you can start putting other stuff in divs as well. But no, essentially, you wouldn't want it within there. You will want your own header within its own div, and then your list within another div to be able to shift both of them within side of a much greater div. But what the divs really do, it allows you to move large pieces of content within a certain group without having to, if you didn't want to specify that one single item. If you want to move everything on one side to the other or shift it up and down, we typically like to categorize them with divs. It lets us put everything within a box and then shift all that to other locations. Makes it easier for styling and organizing our context. But yeah, I guess maybe divs not yet. We'll wait for that. Form is if you guys ever taking like a survey, or you filling out a questionnaire, forms allows you to essentially take the feedback that is being received from inside that form and kind of collect it. Within a form tag, you're able to have other inputs like buttons. For example, we can have here down here. Wow, we can do form. And this will, you don't see anything here yet, but everything within inside my form tags, I'm able to collect, and we can do something like input. And we see here it starts, it creates a little box for us where we can give information. And then if we wanted to submit all the information, we could create a button that says submit. And then we would connect JavaScript to this button. So whenever we press the submit button, everything was inside our form will essentially be collected and taken somewhere, right? And then you can give it a location. But essentially it grabs all the input that you are receiving within your input tags to collect, right? It's just like a box to hold all different forms of input. Pretty straightforward. Does that explain it? I don't know if I'm complicating it too much. What's up, Cody?
What's the /4 after input?
It's a self-closing tag, so you're gonna encounter some different tags that don't have open and closing tags. Those that don't have an open and close typically have, or they're known as self-closing tags that, after input, you just close it within that same tag, and they're called self-closing because they don't require a separate closing tag like you see here with button. Did I put in the wrong spot? No, I should be there.
Okay, copy that, thanks.
I haven't done forms in a hot minute, man. But yeah, it should be, I'm pretty sure it's just like that. Yeah. Any questions? And then you could do other forms of input and just start adding them up. And then you can also even organize these if you wanted to. But pretty straightforward. Nav, what is nav? Someone want to take a guess?
It is a navigation section. It's like a
Navig-
semantic div.
Yeah, actually that's a pretty good. A semantic div, right? So it's essentially where you would put your navigation bars. So if you're looking up here, you can pretty much assume that this itself is kind of its own navigation bar. This is a navigation bar. How would you say they're listed? If this was a navigation bar, how are these items listed? What tag would you use? Would you use a list? Or would you use like headers? Would you use a paragraph?
An unordered list.
Yeah, you can use an unordered list, right? Essentially, you would put nav, and you can put everything within it. You don't really see a huge change, but it's like you said, it's a semantic div, right? And it's bare bones, it's a div, but they give it the name nav, so you're able to identify its purpose, right? Its purpose is for it to be a navigation bar, but essentially to its root, it's honestly just another div, right? It's just a box, right? We just call it nav to help other people understand what the context of this nav is.
I actually sent you a photo over Slack. And that's what really helped me learn HTML tags.
Oh, that's awesome.
So like, because when I was first learning stuff like this, it was like really confusing with all the divs, but making it more semantic and making it closer to like spoken language really helped me personally.
Yeah, this is actually super cool. I'm actually gonna say this and add it to the slides, man. Pretty dope. So we see here a non-semantic and semantic divs, right? So non-semantic is pretty much saying like this is like pretty generic, you know, and we see on the right side the semantic version of it is it's not just a div, but specifically for the header, right? Next thing is the nav bar. Below it, we see what this is like. We have main, we have an article, a figure, a paragraph, a section. If we weren't using their semantic meaning, then essentially they were all divs, right? But because they have specific purpose, they are called differently, right? To essentially assist us with, you know, identifying what their purpose is whenever we're looking through our code, right? At the end of the day, there's just divs inside divs. They might be called a little bit different because they have different purpose and meanings for it, but they're all divs. Does that help? I believe Brandon, thank you. That's awesome. Appreciate it. HTML structure, an instructor example. So we kind of already went through it whenever we were discussing the boilerplate. All right, so at the very top, you have the HTML tag, the doc type. Right, you're trying to let the computer know like what type of file this is, and it's then followed by your header section. This typically accompanied with your metadata, meta, whatever you want to call it, as well with like your title. This is also where you will link other types of files that you want to use. You can do it either up here or down on the very bottom of your file, but typically I see it done more in the header, where you will link your cascading style sheets as well as your JavaScript files, right? So whenever you start working with the CSS and JavaScript, how does your file know like where to get this information? Well, you would add it into the header with a link tag, and it would have a reference for it to know what file to look for whenever it's reading through the HTML file, right? So essentially, it will read your code, it gets to the header, and it's going to reach a link tag, and it's going to show like, hey, is this a style sheet? And this is the location of the style sheet, right? And it would have a link to where you have that file at. So it knows where to reference whenever it reaches the rest of your code. Let's say once it gets to the body and it gets to the header, it knows, hey, this is, you know, my header. There's a, you know, a class or ID that is being referenced in the style sheet that was talked about in the header, and that's how it knows where your styling is at. All right, so that would be put in the header. The next part here, we see the body, and this is where the rest of, you know, the main contents of your file is being stored at, right? This is where you would start with like your title and your nav bars and your pictures and everything you want to put on your web page that's displayed. It's all held inside your body, right? And then you have the closing HTML. Student practice, brownies.html example on GitHub. You guys should have the repo. Before we break off and start working on this, we're actually going to start it off together. Let me undo all these changes for the follow-on class. Awesome. All right, so the brownies HTML. So just like the states.html, it's nothing but just writing. What's going to be the first thing that you guys are going to want to do? Someone besides Brandon.
Open up live server.
Not just yet. You're right
Not
there,
just
but
yet.
I mean you can, but
Save it as a different file. I don't know.
Get the boilerplate HTML.
The boilerplate HTML, right? So before you guys even begin, I want you guys to scoot these bad boys down. Exclamation mark, tab, and it gives you your boilerplate. And then we're gonna go ahead and grab the context of our code of our HTML page and just move it up into our body, right? What you guys are gonna do, you're gonna go through the Brownies HTML and you're going to give everything inside here its respective tags, right? So before we even start, I'm gonna do one. We have deep dish brownies on line 9. What type of tag would you say this probably is? We can see it looks like a recipe, right? So we have recipe by Biz McMahon, whatever his name is, related recipes. Then we have the actual recipe itself, prep time, servings, ingredients, a paragraph of directions. There's a freebie. But right off the bat, what's the first line is gonna have?
Header.
A header. Which one?
Let's do H1,
H1.
maybe H2. Yep.
H1. All right, and I haven't done it yet, but I can open up in live server. Whoa. What is going on? Why is it all big? H1. Oh, my bad. There you go. Rookie mistake. So there you go. It was given to all of it because it was open, but right off the bat, we already see deep dish brownies. It has the H1 header. Pretty straightforward. You're gonna do that for the rest of the brownies.html. This is gonna be a solo practice. So I'm gonna break you guys off into your own groups just so I'm able to go through and help you guys one-on-one. So we're not bothering everybody else as they're working. But the time is 7:05. We're gonna go through this, work it, and then at 7:20, I want you guys to go on break, and then we'll come back at 7:30. Okay? So you guys will get a nice 15 minutes to be able to go through this, mess around with it. And I can go through and help you guys out as well. Sound good? All right, stop sharing. All right. Back to it. Can you guys see my screen?
Yep, I got it.
All right. So the brownies. All right. Did everyone get to finish it? All right. So probably the hardest part in this assignment was probably the image tag because we did not cover it. But with proper research, you guys should have been able to handle it. I went ahead and did it myself as well. We're gonna walk through this, and then you guys can tell me. I would like volunteers of what you think will be the proper semantic tag to use for what we have. All right, so for the image tag, it says brownies.jpg. We didn't have a JPEG file here, so it would have been up to you guys to find an image on the web to use it properly. So the image tag, it takes a source, so src, where you would put where to reference the image for. I found this random image on Google. You copy and paste it in here within parentheses, and it should appear your image, right? If you have the file in the same location of where your HTML file is, you would just need to put the name of the file that you're trying to add onto your source instead of the link itself. Another thing I added here is the alt attribute, essentially alternate, right? And what that does is, if you guys have ever loaded up a web page and there's supposed to be an image somewhere but it didn't render, sometimes you would see, for the most part, there should be some kind of description, right? That description is whatever was put into the alternate of your tag, right? So in the event that your image does not load, they can it shows them what's supposed to be there, right? So essentially, if my image didn't load, there's an issue with this link or it just wasn't available anymore, it's a broken link, then it would show, for example, we delete the why is it showing brownies.jpg? Oh, my bad. It didn't show it. Why is that? Let's try. And we delete source code completely. There you go. So you see that broken image icon, and then you see brownies as the alternate place in its location. All right, pretty straightforward. So recipe by Bis, what tag should this have?
H2.
I feel like it's too big. H2. Let's try H3. Yeah, H3 seems a little bit, it doesn't just yell at you as you look at it. H3 would be better. Then we have related recipes. This one could be like H4. So we can use something else differently for everything else. Then everything else, do you guys give these individual tags or who use something different?
I used the strong tag instead of,
And what does a strong tag do?
it makes it bold.
Makes it bold, right? It's a nice little alternate you can use. Do you use it for every single one, or did you?
No. I actually used it for the heading, so I used a P tag and then inside of that nested a strong tag for related recipes.
Ooh, that's a pretty good way of going about it. We have related recipes in there. Strong. I don't know if I like how it is. I would say maybe. Is this how you did it? I would say probably
No,
change it up.
so for the on line 16, that
Mhm.
was actually where I would have the P tag. So instead of H4, I used P tag and then strong related recipes. And then I followed that same process for each of my like servings, ingredients, prep time.
Yeah. I am going to use an unordered list instead. Since it is a list of different items, we can use unordered list for this. Yeah. Oh. Jesus. So I'm gonna use an unordered list so I can list the different types of recipes. You might even want to put anchors around these if you want to allow your users to, you know, branch off to different recipes as well that are similar. But we'll use that for this. I think your route is probably a good route using strong for this one. Very similar. Well, anyways, I put the list of recipes here in an unordered list because I am listing out different types of recipes they might be able to branch off to. If you wanted to, you could put all these in an anchor tag so they can diverge into other locations. And then we actually have the stuff like prep time. Dude, my typing is horrible, Dig.
This is where I like to use the P and the nested P and strong because you could have, the bold prep and then the normal text 60 minutes.
Yeah. 60 minutes. I see what you mean. But yeah, so we can use the P tag, the bold. We have another list here as well of ingredients. The directions. This might be, what would you guys use here for your directions?
Probably just the P tag.
For the directions?
At least most cookbooks that I have, it's normally just written as a paragraph, not really listed out. That was my logic behind it.
You could. I mean, it could be, the P tag could be a whole paragraph. If you wanted to take it step by step, you can also do a order list so they know step 1, step 2, step 3, so on and so forth. The tip seems to be something like a small little paragraph. It wouldn't even be a whole paragraph in itself. Nutritional info. This is obviously very brief, but you would have like fats, protein stuff, and different things. But do you guys get the main gist? The hardest part of this one was probably the image tag in itself. It required a little bit of research. But so far, do you guys feel comfortable with the different types of tags and how they work and how to use them? And
For the most
if you
part.
guys want more, W3 Schools is a very helpful website, very straightforward, and you can find a list of different tags that could come in handy. Like the Q for short quotation. You have the unordered list already, but you have so many things to your disposal, so don't feel like you're limited to just these tags. These are just the most common ones that you'll probably encounter. But this is enough to get you started and get your feet wet with HTML. Pretty straightforward. Anyone have any issues? Awesome. Moving forward, the BBC example. All right, so I'll start you off with this as well, and then we'll branch off and you guys can try to give it a crack as well. A nice little tip to, trying to get used to or getting comfortable with HTML is trying to recreate some of the websites that are, very popular and, common. The BBC one is a really good one because it gives you the nav bar, the different pictures, and how it would work. So we have a picture here, but let's go ahead and make our own file, bbc.html. What was the first step when it comes to starting our HTML?
Boilerplate code.
Yeah, our boilerplate code, right? Every HTML document you have is going to have all this information. So just go ahead and use what's provided for you. It's pretty straightforward. Open with live server. And now looking at the BBC website, what's the first thing you see on it that we might want to add on to here?
A nav bar top.
Okay, yeah, we can do a nav bar. And what's within this nav bar?
Pretty blurry on my screen, but yeah, I don't know. I see like sport.
And zoom in on
It's
this.
a list of things that I can't really make out.
So looking at the image here, we have the nav bar, we have the BBC logo, followed by all the different areas that this can take you to. Then we have, what would you categorize this?
Flexbox or something
Like-
with images.
Yeah, probably a
Images,
div
yeah.
with images, right? So a div with some form of header, and then a bunch of other, divs that might hold images themselves. I would have a div for the top of this section, a div that would hold the welcome to bbc.com and then the date. And then another div to hold all the images below it. Within these images, they could be within, split them up, have one on the left, which is going to be the main attention point, and then you have the sub articles to the side of it, which aren't the main importance of the website. You can obviously tell that they're trying to draw your attention to the left article here. This seems to be the biggest thing happening at that moment. And they have like some other articles which aren't as important as the one on the left, in their own area. So you can have two divs here, one with the main article, and one holding all the sub articles. Below that, we have another section here. We see news. So you can have a section with divs inside of it, one holding the headers and one holding the articles, and so on and so forth. So with that, you guys got a better look at it. We have the nav bar. So what do we want to do here? It's okay. There's no wrong answers. We're just trying to recreate this. We're just doing the first part, and then you guys can break off and do it yourself.
Put a, was it a header on there, maybe?
Yeah, a header. What type? It looks pretty small. Doesn't
H4
look.
maybe? H4?
Let's see. H4. Inside here is going to be BBC. Ideally, it'll probably be an image, since it seems like it's a
Yeah.
logo. But because we don't have the image, we'll use the header ourselves. But yeah, you would want its own image there, typically that comes with the logo. I feel like this is too small. You can always make it bigger with CSS. But we have BBC followed by what? What is that? Login. Sign in. So we can have, next seems to be the actual buttons, right? So after the BBC logo is the actual nav bar itself. So we have sign in, we have home, news, sports, real, work, life, travel. And how would you list this out?
Unordered list.
Yeah, probably an unordered list, right? So unordered list. And then we will begin adding some list items in here. We're going to say, to keep it simple, sign in. We're going to say home. Is that what it was?
Yep, home.
Yeah,
news,
home, news, sports, right? So home, news, sport, and I'll do one more so we don't waste too much time on this.
Real, REEL.
Yeah, real. All right, and let's look at our document so far. So we got sign in, home, news, sport, real. And there are ways to get rid of the dot. That's what CSS, but it's a little too out of our scope. We're just trying to kind of slowly recreate this. We'll get to CSS after this lesson. But yeah, so we have the nav bar listed out there. And then at the end of it, what do we have? We have, it looks like a search bar, right? So what does a search bar typically take?
In input.
I wonder if I can do like this and put input. Yeah, we can do input. That'll be where the search bar would go. So pretty down and dirty, we have the search bar. After that, we have the next part, which seems to be the first actual main component of our site. How do we want to hold this together? The whole top section where it says welcome to bbc.com.
Would that go in a
Yeah.
div?
Yeah, I can go in a div, maybe a section too. We have different sections here. So maybe instead of, so after nav, we can use section, which will hold the first top section of it. Then we can do div, and this will hold our top header, right? So we have the welcome to bbc.com and the Sunday 27 November. So typically, we want to separate the different contents of our boxes, right? And the reason for that is because as you start styling it, you start, orienting your page and making it look nice, it's gonna get very difficult to try to manage all this. But they seem to want to have, we know for sure the top part is probably on its own, right? It seems like it's its own area, and within it, it's probably in two different blocks, one on the left, one on the right. So we would do this div, which we haven't gotten to it yet, but we can give it a class, right? And then this class, it could be, what would you call it? What would you call this? Section header, right? Which we know will hold everything within the section. More than likely, we'll probably have to use the same class for the other section header. All right, we might have to get this one a specific ID because it only holds one item, unlike the other one that holds the date. But we know this will have the header. This will be another div, which will probably be class welcome. And then inside of here, we could have the actual contents of it, which is what welcome to bbc.com. Or welcome to bbc.com. So that took care of that part. And then we have another div. What does this have? It has the date, right? Sunday, 27 November. So class will equal dates. Sunday, 27 November. And right now it's stuck on top of itself because we don't have any kind of styling. But ideally, what we want to do is whenever we go into our CSS, we will want to grab this class, the section header, and we will want to style it so both the welcome div and the date div are side by side to each other online, right? And then once that is organized, we can go to the class div and the date div and orient them accordingly. We know that the welcome div is kind of lined up to the far left, right? And then we know that the date one is lined up to the right. And then we can also change, font styles, font sizes as needed. This one seems to be bold while the other one isn't. So you can also change that with CSS, and we'll get that to later. But yeah, that's kind of how it starts working, right? We don't really see it here. We can go to inspect, and you can get a much better idea of how it's broken up. So as we hover over welcome to bbc.com, you see that blue around it. It's essentially highlighting the entire div, right? As of right now, the default for this div is to go from left to right, and it's only taking the entire height of its contents. We go down, it hovers under Sunday, 27 November. That's another div. It's highlighting the entire width of it. and the height of it is only the same as content. We can go above and we can highlight over the list, right? The list is an own area. Same thing with the BBC itself. It's on the nav bar. It's taking the left and right. And then you would want to orient them with CSS and whatnot. But we can start seeing how it's essentially isolated from other pieces of content within this page, right? We can hover over the entire thing. And you can see here it says body, right? Because everything within this box is currently the body. This is H3 list. Here we have div, and then we also see div.welcome, right? Because not only is it a div, but it has a class name of welcome. And this is essentially how you want to separate the content, which will make it so much easier to better organize and style it once you start adding your CSS. But that will conclude my small little demo. Time is 7:55. Let's take to like let's say 8:10, and then we'll come back and continue with the lecture. Hold on, let me see. I see it on chat something. What's this difference between a section and a body, Zeus? So the body itself isn't they're both tags, right? But the body is on the same scale and level as what your head is. If we look at our boilerplate, right, we know that there's certain things that our boilerplate needs. It needs the doc type. It needs the open and closing tag of HTML, because everything within those tags, we know it's going to be HTML. And then it has to have two things. It needs to have a header or the head, and it needs to have the body, right? This is like the bare foundation, the bones of what your HTML document will be. The section is more closely related to something like the more subcategory versions of tags like body, like div, article, right? They're all divs, right? The body, the article is a div, section is a div, but they have a semantic meaning because they have a specific purpose, right? If I wanted to recreate this area, what do you think I'm gonna wrap this around? What would this be? Any guesses? Hold on, give me a second.
Span.
It won't be a section really. I would say it will be under the article tag, right? Because it's an article. We covered it very briefly when we started talking about tags, and it's supposed to be a link to a different location, right? It's supposed to take you to the article itself. But that's the semantic meaning behind it, that it's an article, right? It's not really a section. We use section here because the meaning behind a section, what is it? It's a part, it's a section of our web page that we're trying to use. I'm sorry, give me a second. My kid's crying. Let me be right back. Oh, never mind. His mom took him away. My bad. I do apologize if you hear the kid crying. The struggles of a parent, right? But here we use the section. We didn't just use a div. We essentially could have used a div if we wanted to. We could do a div, and then within this div, we could have done the section header div. We could have done the welcome div. We could have done the date div. But instead of using a div, we use section because it has a more specific meaning. So whenever people are reading our code, right, other developers that are working on the same project, they know, hey, this section is holding this specific location on this. It's not just a div. It has a different meaning. It's a section of our articles, right? Once we got a little bit deeper into the rest of our HTML and we started building these, this wouldn't be just a div. This wouldn't be just a section. It would be a more specific meaning like article, because it is an article, right? Does that explain to you, Zeus? Or did I not explain it well? I do apologize if that wasn't the best explanation. Essentially, the difference is the meaning behind the purpose of your tag, right? If it was just a random div, like like you're trying to put something like this, like the welcome message, you don't have to name a article. You don't have to give a section tag. It could just be a regular div, but you give it a different class name because you to be able to identify and work with it. But there's certain things that have specific meanings. This will be another section, right? This is a news section. Within it, we have different divs or articles that we could use, right? And it just really depends on what the purpose of the tag that you're working on, right? But all right, so 7:59. Let's come back at 8:15 and we can continue this.
Wait,
I'm
are
gonna
we breaking away or going on a break?
We're breaking away. We went on break 30 minutes ago, did we not?
Okay, I'm just making sure. Can you please move both of my streams into the breakout room, please?
Sure, yeah.
Thank you.
I'm breaking this off. Cody, what do you need?
Whenever you come into my room, I can chat with you. I just had a question about something you did.
Okay, sure.
Thanks.
Brandon, I don't know what you're talking about, bro. I only see one of you here.
Oh, well, so I'm on my MacBook and my PC, so I should have two streams going right now.
No.
Yeah, I see two of me, but it's okay.
I'll keep you here so they stay together if you want.
Okay. I just want to be able to share with my partner, you know, because I wasn't able to do that earlier.
I see you now. But I'll keep you here.
Okay.
What's up, Cody?
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I feel awkward just like.
So what if we actually come here? What can we do with an image? How to center an image, CSS. How to force fit an image, CSS.
That's with math art. Am I trying to cut into you guys?
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
You're good. Sorry. I just don't want to go over time like I did last night.
Oh,
But
okay.
welcome back, boys. How'd it go? Anyone want to talk through what they did? It's not gonna be pretty. I know. Like, there's no CSS. I just want to know what you guys decided to use and why. That's it.
I made the top navigation section actually go horizontal, so that was a win.
Okay, want to show us? Yeah, go right
Yeah,
ahead.
hold on. Give me one sec. I did have to look up some stuff though, so.
Brandon, do me a favor, brother. Do you mind not sharing so you can
Oh.
share too? You're good. I'm eating my dinner, so this is a good time.
Yep. All right, let me share this. So no pictures, but is it showing the right screen? Can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, sweet. Okay, so right now, what I did was, put in a div because that's what it said to do. So put in a block, and then from here, I'll put a class, sign in, and then just put the sign in right here, which made that. And then just going down the list from using the anchors, it just ended up doing it sideways. I don't know why or how, but I thought it was cool that it did that instead of like listing it out like one by one, like horizontally. So it kind of mirrored it, but obviously doesn't look pretty like the freaking BBC website stuff. But I thought that was kind of a win. But
Yeah,
yeah.
that's awesome. Did you do any CSS? I see that you added class and stuff, which is fine. They're not really doing anything right now. I was just curious if you did.
Yeah, there's zero CSS in this. This is just straight email. So
Okay.
That's why I was shocked. I was like, I thought it was just gonna go or vertically, but no, it just ended up doing horizontally, and I was like, okay, that's kind of a win. So
That's fine.
Just one question, if you know, Roger. So it's been a while since I did HTML, but if you did, so the A's, the anchor tags aren't doing a new line. I believe a span has the same behavior. So if like those were spans instead of divs, I think that's the difference between a
gotcha.
span and a div, the way I
I
understand.
I
Div is-
think they're doing that because they're inline elements and not block level elements. So inline elements don't create a new line. So that's why they're all horizontal.
So
Okay.
if
So
is
an anchor
the
tag and a
span-
span are inline elements.
Okay, gotcha. I was just
Oh,
confirming.
okay.
If you want them to be a block level element, you'd have to go into CSS and change the display to block level.
Nice.
Yep. Good explanation.
Sweet.
Yeah. So up to this point, I know, I kind of use class and whatnot, but you guys don't know what it is yet. So essentially, classes is how you're going to use, or what you're going to use to grab specific tags from your HTML and do something with them, right? So how does your computer or your browser know where to grab or what tag to style, right? Sure, you connected the style sheet, right, to your page, but how does it know what specific div to manipulate, or what paragraph? And that's where classes and IDs come into play. And we're about to talk a little bit about it. Right now, they're not doing anything. It's just like a forced habit that I like to do for classes. I know I'm going to have to, use them. So, but we're about to get there. Hopefully, anyone else want to demonstrate? I know that was just the nav bar, but anyone get through the, further that they want to show?
Zeus and I were able to get some text overlaid on an image.
Okay, yeah, let's see it.
Sorry, just 1 second. Okay, so basically we started by sectioning everything off with comments. So we had our navigation, used a button for sign in, and then just had an unordered list with the nav elements. And then for the search bar, we just had a simple input. Then we had the welcome section. This is supposed to be, we use the stock image provided, the bbc.png. And then Google searched how to do some like CSS stuff. And what we ended up doing is making the background of our div the image itself. And then just change the color of the text to something other than black. That way it actually showed up on the image. So it's not like aligned or anything, but we could replace this image with anything we wanted. And kind of get the same look of right here. So if we were to use that image instead. And then for everything else, we just use the alt tags to kind of create placeholders for where the photos would be.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, man. That's good. I'm glad to see that you guys are, trying out new things and whatnot. That's, the whole point of all this. There's so much that goes into HTML, CSS, and everything else that you're going to be taught through the immersive program that we can't possibly teach you everything. So, using these tools like W3 Schools and so many others out there, definitely important for you guys. Go out there, research. There's amazing websites, great contributors in places like Stack Overflow that help you through stuff that typically is hard to manage or might seem overwhelming. But the cool thing is you know, the more exposure you have to some of these things, the easier it becomes to read. If you would have asked me to read through like the documentation of something before, like a year or two ago, I would have not known what the heck I was looking at. But the more exposure you have to it, the easier it becomes. And it's a great tool. You know, like I mentioned before, it's good that you guys have military backgrounds because you have experience on finding the answer, right? You know, we don't always know anything, but we tell our soldiers, you know, I might not know, but you know, I'll find the answer for you. And that carries on out here too. Yeah, so let's continue on. Before we go into the CSS, I do want to show you guys a little bit more about the input tags. But essentially, can you guys see my screen? We discuss input tags. There's so many out there. And the way they use them is by type, right? So, is it working? There we go. By type. So whenever you want to change the type of your input tag, you would use the type, and then inside of it you would put what you want. I actually have a list here pulled out to show you like all the different types that you might encounter. We have stuff like range. And you see it changes the type of input that you could use, which is like a slider. You have stuff like, I believe it's radio. Creates that rate. It's called radio button, right? So the button that you can click whenever you have like different, you know, multiple selections. That gives input. You have stuff like, what's another good one here? Time. I've never used this one. This should be interesting. Time. So it gives you the time input. So the input is very powerful. There's a huge range of stuff. And do check it out. Check out all the stuff that you can do with it. As you see here, we have dates. What's another good one here? There's one that I really like. No. What is checkbox? How is it different from radio? Checkbox. See, but there's so much out there. Do experiment. You know, don't limit yourself to just that one button, or that one input bar. There's significantly more different variations of a lot of stuff that we're gonna do today. But you know, this is not to make you an expert in HTML and CSS. It's enough to, you know, get your toes wet, and expose you to the different types of tags out there. And as you start working on different projects, personal projects, group projects, and you start coding more, you're gonna find more uses to all these other things. But everyone good there? Awesome. So, moving back to where we were at. So we covered the BBC. Oh, what happened? BBC. Any questions before we move on? Next thing is gonna be CSS. Before I close this chapter, anything at all?
What was the website that you recommended?
W3
For,
schools? For what?
I thought you recommended something else. I know W3 was definitely one of them. I can't remember though.
Stack Overflow.
Hmm.
That one is more of a blog or forum. Have you guys all used Stack Overflow before? I'm sure you probably encountered it.
24/7.
Mm-hmm. You are not the first people to mess up your code. All right? You will not be the first person or the last. Stack Overflow is awesome. Bunch of other developers banging their head on the computers as well, trying to help you out. So definitely check out Stack Overflow. But all right. It's 8:28. I'm not gonna put you on break. Let's just go through the last 30 minutes. So we can get as much as we can. That's going to conclude the first, or I'm sorry, the second lesson. And we're gonna move on to adding CSS to our HTML document. All right, now we're actually gonna start making things looking pretty on our screen. So what is CSS and where does it go? Well, I already asked you that before. It is cascading style sheets. It's how you style your web pages, right? So it's the exterior of your web pages, what makes it look pretty, which lines everything up. You change your colors and whatnot. All right, it's all appearance based. It can be placed in line in the head of the HTML file or in a separate file. So what does that mean? So whenever we link our CSS file, you have two places you can put it in. One's going to be, as you see here in the head, it's going to be with the link tag. It's going to take the rel option and you're going to put what type it is. It's going to be style sheet. And then the href, which is going to be the name of your CSS file, which typically pretty standard everywhere you see. It's typically just called style.css. All right, it's going to end with a .css, which makes it a CSS file. If you do not put it in the head, the other place you can also put it is going to be your body. The difference with the putting it in the body and in the head is making it asynchronous. So that means your stuff changes like real time, if that makes sense. Whereas you put it in your body, it can give you some issues later on. All right, so it's gonna be just like this. The only difference that this picture does not have is that you would put oh yeah, I'm getting confused with your JavaScript. Disregard everything I just said. But it would be with your link, right? So it's gonna be the link tag, rel, and style sheet, and the href, the name of your file. Pretty straightforward. I'm sorry if I got you confused for that split second. CSS syntax and breakdown, it's going to be different than your HTML. It's going to start with what's called a selector. What do you think that is? Pretty straightforward. Yes, Eric.
So you're selecting either the class or an ID of an element in your HTML to apply a style to.
Style, ID, or the tag itself. Right? So if you were to put P right here, it would change all your paragraphs that do not have a class or ID that might override it. Right? So P for paragraph, you can do all H1 elements, all H elements in general. If you want to specify a specific element that should be the only one changing, not every other paragraph, and that's when the class and the ID come into play. After you put the selector, you're gonna do open and close curly brackets. Within these curly brackets is where all the styling will go. Right? See here, we have a very basic one, which is gonna be color, followed by colon, and then the actual color that you want to put. There's different ways of doing it. You can do like they just did here, like red, but very common to use like RGBA, hex colors. There's another one, it's like H something, HSLA. I don't know, it's not used common. I've never seen it. But there's different formats of putting your color. Don't worry too much about it. But essentially, the first part to the left of the colon will be your property, and to the right is going to be the property value, right? This is what you're going to be declaring. Is going to be the style that you're adding to this specific tag, class, or ID item. Right? Pretty straightforward. How to read CSS from top to bottom, right? It is not just reading it. It's also going to be by what kind of stumps over something else. So, for example, if I were to change the color of my paragraph on the very first line, that's the very first style I put, but then down the line I add another style for paragraph, the one at the very bottom is going to take precedence of it. Does that make sense? What comes further down the page can override what comes before it. All right, pretty much what I just said. This is called a cascade, thus their name, cascading style sheets, right? Looking at the example, what color does a paragraph end up being?
Blue.
Blue. Exactly. Gold star. Common change.
So sorry, real quick. So
What's up?
the first one was red bold. So the bold goes away then? It's just blue, not bold.
You only overwrote. He only overwrote the color here.
So
The
it's still
font-
bold.
Yeah, it'll still be bold unless
Copy.
you change the bold here as well. Good question.
Okay, thank you.
2 gold stars. Move forward. Common change, color. A lot of different ways to write the value of color. Here are some examples. The very first one is what you saw on the previous slide. They just went ahead and put red. But who knows every single color like freaking fusion, orange, blast, I don't know, right? So you're not going to use that very common unless it's something very basic that you just want straight like the actual red. You can put something very specific like that. Or what's more commonly used is what you see on the H2 tag and on the P tag. The H2 is going to be your hex. If you guys went through the pre-work and went through the free CodeCamp, I don't know, they still have that free CodeCamp tutorial of HTML. You probably got to mess around a little bit with these. You have the hex. Syntax for that is as follows: the hashtag and then the specific code that references that color. Right? Don't ask me which one is which because no one knows every single one unless you do this every single day. Next is going to be your RGBA. Syntax for that is just as you see here: RGBA, open and close parentheses. Inside, you give it the color combination that reflects the color you're looking for. Same thing for the HSLA. I knew it was HSLA. I'm good. But yeah, so it takes a different combination as well. Ranges from 0 to 100. Pretty straightforward. Now, how? Roger, I don't know all my colors. Well, me neither. All right, so if you don't, here's a cool tip. If you're using Google Chrome, you have access to different extensions. I recommend getting the Amazing Color Picker. All right, so you can go to Manage Your Extensions, go to Chrome Web Store. It's free. When you do this, you can open up the Amazing Color Picker. It's going to give you this nice little window. You see here, I already have a color from before, my recent colors, which is, I believe it's black, right? And it'll give you the hex combo for it, as well as the HSL. And for CSS, it will be the RGB, right? So you essentially, I like using the RGB one, so I would use this one. And it gives me right off the bat, and I'm able to use it effectively. And now, what if I don't want black? Well, I can pick a color, and as we see here, my mouse starts grabbing the colors that I hover over it. It's just a weird color, like, I don't know what this color is, but I can click it. Oh, that was not close at all. Anyways, it gets you pretty close, man. All right. Well, let's try it again. Not a good demo. Let's see. Okay, so I'm assuming it's probably like more like a slight highlight on this. Anyway, it gets it close, man, closer than you would have ever guessed. So whatever. It's a nice tool. Take it or don't.
Mac actually has that built in. It's called a digital color meter. It comes with the OS.
Perfect. I don't have Mac, so I'm not
But I think
privy to
this
that
is
information.
probably better though, because it gives you all the web page palette and stuff.
Regardless, you didn't have a tool before, now you do. So whether it's not perfect, it'll do, right? It'll get you closer than trying to guess it. All right, moving forward. Common change font. So a common way that people change their font is by using Google Fonts. Essentially, you import the font from Google and set it in your CSS file. You would have to link it, as you see here on the head, underneath the meta tags. They have link href and they put the href that's given to you from the Google Colors, and then you would give it a style sheet, and you will also put it in your CSS. Actually, I think it's one or the other. Let's check it out. Which one do I have open right now? Where you at? So if we go to Google, Google Fonts, they have a nice little website. I've used it, as you can see. And you have all these nice, cool fonts to your disposal. Someone choose a font. Just say stop.
Poppins,
Poppins?
Poppins.
That's too basic, bro. It has to look different. Like this, Ain't nobody know Notable Sans Japanese in this place. So let's check it out. Hopefully it works. So Notable Sans Japanese. It should have it. Does it have anything? No. But anyways, it should have it whenever we go into the. Oh, we can actually choose the different bolts. Let's go with extra bolt 800. Get font. Get embedded code. It should already add it to my clipboard. If we go up, oh man, I got rid of the boilerplate. Exclamation mark. Move up. Okay, so now it's within my body. Let's do link. The format for it. We see here link. It's a self-closing tag, and then we do href. And then, oh, that's trash, bro. Here it is. We're gonna go with this one. What happened to? Oh, I didn't copy that. Okay, make sure it didn't get weird. Well, I didn't do it. It's because it's a weird one. Let's try.
You have to set the font family to it.
On my CSS, I was trying to do it about it, but okay. Well, we didn't go over how to link the CSS. Maybe that came back later. But we'll go over it real quick. So the CSS, it's gonna be just like this. You're gonna do the style sheet, and then oh yeah, we did go over it. Link, style sheet, href equal to what's it called in ours? Oh, we don't have one in here. Oh, that's unfortunate. New file, style.css. Okay. And then this will be style.css. And then what was that? It doesn't even have a put all of this in a div. Who cares? Now it's just this. Div. Okay. I'm worried that because it's such a weird one, it won't work.
No, you just have to go into the CSS and do the body selector and do font family.
If font family, what's it called?
And then find the name of it. If you scroll down, it gives you the information on how to do that. Yeah, right there, font family, the open and close, no toe sans, JP.
That's oh, of course I choose the hardest one. I would have never guessed that one. Oh, this doesn't like it, is it? Cause
No, you gotta remove
no.
all that unifier stuff. The stuff before the parentheses, just put body there. Just delete that, put body. No, delete all the other stuff too, the no toe sans. Yeah, just keep going, yeah. And then just put body.
I don't think it likes
And
it.
then you can just remove font weight and font style.
Yeah.
You don't really need that.
I actually just chose it with Poppins. Jeez. Yeah, it's still not the same. Maybe because it was such a weird one, and because this is English. It's probably because it is
If you do the copy code, if you go back to and just copy code the one above it, the one above that one. Yeah, just press that and then go to the HTML and just all the before the
Oh,
where did you paste it? Yeah. Just paste it right there. Yeah, just select that whole one that you put there and just paste over.
Nah, I'm gonna choose a different one. This is too complex. Fonts. Go with Cookie. Get font.
I think you clicked on the wrong.
Think so? Cookie. Why did I let me click it?
So if you click on the beside the search bar, that thing right there, beside the X, it shows you all the fonts that you selected. And you just click embedded, get embedded,
Oh, I see.
and then you just copy code and just
Regular.
paste it. Yeah, just copy all of that. And just select everything right before the CS.
I should just go with this one.
And then the one below it, you have to copy that as well.
Cookie
That
CSS.
one, yeah. And then because you don't have a class cookie regular in there, you can just put it at body.
Was that body or was div? I think I'll use div.
Yeah.
There you go.
If you put body, it's gonna do everything.
Yeah. I already put a div on there. I was gonna use it anyways. There you go. Oh well. Cookie was easier than the Noto Sans Japanese. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah, I think it was because you didn't copy the right thing over.
Yeah, I think you grab the bottom link on the top of that copy. So the top thing, yeah, right in there with the links. I think you grab the
Mhm.
bottom one. You needed all three.
Yeah, you needed the whole thing.
That's fine. You either do that, or just did the one that comes with HTML. No big. But at least you know it's an option. All right. Everyone happy with that thorough headache? Moving forward. CSS student practice colors.html. Let me delete this. Brownies, go back on this. We are in lesson 3 now, colors. And let's open this bad boy up with live server. Make this text blue, underline. We don't have enough time to break off into groups, so we're gonna go ahead and do this together. That way we can just kind of learn as we go. So, is this connected to my style sheet?
No. Yes, it is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is right here. It's already connected to it, so we should be able to just send it. All right. So we have H1, H2, a section, and a footer. For H1, we have to make the entire H1 blue underline and a gold background. All right, someone walk me through this. First step,
So you're gonna use the H1 selector.
H1 selector, baby. Pretty
close
straightforward.
parentheses.
We want to make it
And then
blue.
there's just color. Just color colon. Just type in blue.
Yep.
And then text decoration. Underline.
You did it beforehand, did you?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, ain't nobody remember text decoration. I didn't remember text
Uh,
decoration.
And I think it's background color.
Here, check it out. CSS. I wonder if so. Let's go here. Oh, it is here. My bad. Properties, selectors. What do we want? Properties. Boom. We said have a golden background. Well, let's check out the background ones. Background color. We said gold. Right? Boom. Look at all these, man. Take a good look. Are you gonna remember every single one of these? Heck no.
it's impossible.
Nobody does. Not a single person. If you do your line. All right. Pull this up. Every single one of you guys, whenever you're coding and you're doing stuff, there's no issue having your references, right? Your references, cheat sheets. Look at this. Python cheat sheet on my desktop. That's okay. All right. You're not gonna know everything. And no one expects you to, right? But as long as you know how to find the answer, that is perfectly fine. So just so you guys are aware of that. So pull these up whenever you guys are doing stuff. Like you're not gonna remember everything. No one's gonna teach you everything, right? You're gonna have to learn how to find the answer. So there we go. We got that one down. All right, make this text purple. So we already have an idea. What was this? This was an H2. So someone besides the person who was talking before. Walk me through this one. Cody, walk me through this one.
All right, what do I, H2? So you do
We'll make it purple.
color,
Yep, color.
colon, and then purple.
All right.
Bold.
Have you seen this one before? Is there a bold one? Probably. It's probably just font weight or something like that. Let's check it out.
Control F, bold, font weight.
Font weight, font size, font style, font, my bad, style. Italic, normal, oblique, inherit.
Oh, font weight has bold.
Does it?
Yes.
Font weight, bold, bolder. Yeah. This one changed a little bit. Don't worry, we'll get to it. Is that H2 as well? It's in H3. But it changed anyways. We'll get to it anyways. Is it bold? I don't see a change.
If you type in font weight on VS Code, I think it'll tell you like what it can take.
Yeah, if you just type font weight and B, you're gonna see bold, be able to select it. If you press B, you see bold there.
It's in here. It don't look right. Ah,
Hmm.
maybe because of the color, or the fact that it's in the H2 makes it look like it isn't bold. Does that make sense? Like it's already thick because it's in H2. So probably that. So we did that. Next is bold and then 25 pixels. What's next, Cody? What do you think this one is gonna be?
Font size.
Font size 25 px. Boom, we saw that bad boy move. Cool. And then the last one, orange border. You should probably know this one by now.
Border.
Oh, name it as border, not background.
Font
So,
border.
Font,
Oh, background. Okay. Oh, yeah,
maybe.
font back.
I would say it's probably,
No, it's just border color.
yeah,
Oh, there we
Probably
go. Border.
border. You see border
Dash
radius,
color.
border bottom top. If you think back to it, remember when we did the inspect?
Hmm.
Right? There is a border there, we just don't see it, right? Border. We say orange. Didn't work.
I think
Yeah,
you can do a
you have to set
border.
a
You do
size.
border
color,
dash
Set a
color.
size.
There you go.
Border color. I didn't like that. Let's check it out. Border color. No. That's weird.
Do you have to add like a border
So,
weight?
so you have to add like the pixel size
Yeah.
for the border. So if you just say border like 1 pixel solid orange or something.
Border. 5 pixels.
So you just have, yeah, and you have to say like solid
Solid.
and then the color.
But it's not orange now. Why is that?
Because of the cascading.
Orange. So border, you want to set the border. What do we do? Border right. Oh. I think there's a dash one. Let's go with blue and then what's it called? It's not dash. Dash, there it is. I knew there was one. Maybe it's too thick to be dash and not long enough. All right, but you can specify specific sides, right? But what if we did this? Does it change it? It does. Why is that? Cascading style sheets. Okay, cool. This is too thick for my liking. Let's go with 1 pixels. All right, almost done. Let's do one more to ensure we can drive the message home. Make the section with 50%. Who's next? Who wants to go next? All right, easy there, Eric. I know you're excited, but all right, go ahead, take it away.
All right. What is that section? Is it just called section?
Yeah, so going back to HTML, we see here we did the H1, H2, and now we have a section, right? And it holds a paragraph in here. So
Okay.
we have section, but now we have to actually add something to it. So we want to make this section with a 50% first.
So I think width, if you just type in width, yeah, percentage, and then there's another height attribute you
Height.
can do there. And 200 pixels. And then background color, gray. Border be like above. I don't know.
1 pixel. Say solid. and then black.
And then just do like text white below that, or text dash color white.
You can just say color.
Okay, just color. Cool.
Sweet. Who's that talking that set up on the color?
Cal.
You're pretty good, man. Good job. Yeah, awesome. So it's 8:58. I don't want to take too much time just for the sake of another one. Try the next one by yourself. But do you guys see? You guys get the main gist of it? Pretty straightforward of how it works. We're gonna get more into tomorrow of how to select a class, select an ID. But you know, CSS is it's the makeup of your code, right? So this is where you make it pretty. Some people like it. I don't. But you know, if this is your thing, you like making things look pretty and you enjoy decorating, you know, all power to you, and you know, have fun with it. We'll do some practical examples tomorrow that you guys can do on your own, and you know, we can demonstrate to the rest of the class. But there's just so much, man. There's so much you can do in so many different options. You saw it here. Just look at the amount of different things that you can do with CSS. All right, so don't feel overwhelmed. Definitely just have this out whenever we're going through the CSS portion. And don't be afraid to reference the material, you know, as you go. Some things will click and they'll stick with you. But yeah, anyone have any questions before we end it for the night? All right, awesome. Thanks for you guys for coming, and I will see you guys tomorrow night. You have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you.
Sweet. Thanks.
See you, Coach.